Most people break long before life truly tests them. Not because life is too cruel, but because their minds are too soft. They let emotions lead. They let opinions define them. They let fear decide for them. And when pressure hits, they crumble. But there was a man who understood something most never will. Niccolò Machiavelli. Renaissance Florence, 1513. A diplomat watching Italy tear itself apart. City-states devouring each other. Foreign powers circling like wolves. In that chaos, he wrote The Prince. Not a fantasy about kindness winning. A manual on power, on survival, on cold reality. He separated personal morality from political necessity. He saw what worked, not what should work. And his core insight? Your mind is your throne. If you don't rule it, someone else will. See, being mentally untouchable doesn't happen by accident. You don't wake up one day and stop caring what others think. You build that fortress piece by piece, through discipline, through detachment, through strategy. The world will constantly try to break you. It will use rejection, betrayal, failure to test your strength. Most people will fall apart. You're not most people. You're here because you're done letting emotions dictate your reality. You're here because you want control over your reactions, your focus, your peace. So before we begin, ask yourself this. Do you control your mind, or does the world control it for you? If you're ready to go deeper into these truths, stay close, because the answer to that question defines everything. And the first lesson Machiavelli understood better than anyone? Power begins in perception. Here's the brutal truth no one wants to hear. Truth alone will not protect you. It's too quiet, too fragile, too easily crushed by louder lies. In 1513, a Florentine diplomat named Niccolò Machiavelli sat in exile and wrote Il Principe, not as a moral guide, but as a survival manual for a world ruled by perception, not virtue. He understood something most people refuse to accept. In chapter 18, he wrote, Men judge by the eye rather than the hand, because everyone can see, but few can touch. Translation? The world reacts to what it sees, not what is real. Your value is decided before you speak. Your strength measured by your posture, your silence, your calm. If you look uncertain, they will devour you. If you appear controlled, they hesitate.
Along the coast, then
this isn't about faking emotion. Stanford psychologist James Gross calls it reappraisal, not suppression. Suppression kills you slowly. Reappraisal reshapes the story you tell yourself while you stay composed on the outside. One protects your mind, the other fractures it. Never explain too much. The moment you defend yourself, you surrender authority. Let them assume. Let them wonder. Let silence do the work your words cannot. Because perception isn't just power. It's the battlefield where dominance is won before the first word is spoken. And if you don't control how they see you, once you master this, respect becomes inevitable. You stop chasing validation. You start commanding presence. Now drop this in the comments. I control my image. Lesson 2. Detach from emotion. Here's the truth most people refuse to see. Emotion is the easiest weapon the world uses against you. The moment someone triggers your anger, your fear, your sadness, they own you. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. A Renaissance diplomat in war-torn Italy, watching princes rise and fall. He observed one pattern repeating endlessly. People who react emotionally are predictable, and predictable minds are easy to manipulate. His advice, adapted from The Prince: a ruler must learn when not to be governed by feeling. Modern psychology confirms this. Stanford researcher James Gross calls it emotion regulation, not suppression, not coldness, but conscious detachment. Detachment is strength in disguise. It's the power to observe chaos without letting it enter your mind. When you detach, you stop bleeding energy on things unworthy of your focus. You stop reacting to every insult, every disappointment, every false expectation. You start responding with control, and in that moment, you become unreadable. Most people pride themselves on being real. They think emotional expression is strength. But uncontrolled emotion is vulnerability wearing an honest mask. When you react too quickly, you reveal your triggers. You expose exactly where you can be attacked. People sense it. Even unconsciously, they'll push those buttons to control you. Here's the shift. You are not your emotions. You are the one watching them. Every emotion is a passing storm. Loud, wild, temporary. Don't chase the thunder. Stand still and watch it pass. Imagine two people facing the same insult. One explodes instantly. Picture this. Two people receive the same insult in public. One explodes, loses control of his image, his words, his power. The other looks straight at the offender and simply smiles. The second person wins without saying a word. He didn't react. He redirected. He didn't fight. He observed. That's psychological mastery. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about owning it. You control what leaves your mind. You choose when to respond. You decide when to move and when to wait. That level of control separates the rulers from the ruled. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance political strategist who wrote The Prince in 1513, advised leaders to appear merciful, faithful, humane, and to be so, but with a mind so framed that when necessary, you can shift to the opposite. This means you must detach from your feelings when they threaten your strategy. If your emotion serves your purpose, use it. If it weakens your position, silence it. The emotion must serve you, not enslave you. Detachment also protects your peace. Once you stop reacting to everything, life becomes quieter. You stop wasting energy proving yourself. You stop explaining to people who will never understand. You start seeing patterns instead of problems. You stop taking everything personally and start using it as data. That's when you start winning silently. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I feel, but I do not fall. Number 3, expect betrayal. Trust strategy. Betrayal is not an exception in life. It's a pattern. The sooner you understand that loyalty is temporary, the faster you'll stop being shocked when people turn. Loyalty lasts only as long as it serves someone's interest. When that interest ends, so does their devotion. Most people suffer because they expect consistency in a world driven by convenience. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. The promise given was a necessity of the past. Betrayal is not an act of evil. It's human nature revealing itself. When you understand that, everything changes. You stop reacting with anger. You start responding with clarity. You no longer see betrayal as tragedy. You see it as information. It shows you who values advantage over integrity, who pretends out of necessity, who will abandon you when the winds shift. Most people build their lives on loyalty. That's their first mistake. The strategic mind doesn't rely on loyalty. It relies on structure. It doesn't tie survival to people. It ties survival to systems. When you trust emotion, you make yourself dependent. When you trust design, you make yourself independent. Machiavelli understood this in 16th century Florence, watching princes fall because they believed in oaths. He wrote for rulers navigating betrayal as a political constant. But the principle translates directly to your life. Always have a plan that functions even if everyone turns their back. Always position yourself so no single person holds the power to destroy your peace. That's not cold, it's intelligent. Detachment from blind trust doesn't kill connection, it refines it. You start valuing actions over words, patterns over promises. When you expect betrayal, you stop over-investing in illusions. You see through flattery. You notice inconsistencies before they become daggers. Machiavelli believed foresight is the greatest form of power. A leader who predicts deception never loses control. Most people get destroyed not because they're betrayed, but because they refuse to believe it could happen. They live in denial until the knife is already in. The Machiavellian mindset removes that illusion. It accepts human inconsistency as fact and prepares accordingly. You don't build walls around your heart. You build gates. Gates that open only for those who've proven loyalty through time and crisis. And even then, you never forget that anyone can change. That's not cynicism. That's power. You become alert, but not bitter. Cautious, but not cold. Aware, but never weak. When you expect betrayal, you stop fearing it. You become something else entirely. Number 4, appear calm, think cold. In a world that rewards panic, calmness becomes the most intimidating weapon you possess. Most people confuse composure with weakness. They see your stillness and think you're passive. They're wrong. The calm mind observes what the restless cannot see. The cold thinker spots patterns hidden behind the noise of emotion. When you stand serene in the middle of chaos, people don't see peace, they see control. And control terrifies those who have none. This is psychological warfare. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote in chapter 15 of The Prince that a ruler must learn how not to be good. Not cruelty, emotional discipline. The ability to detach from kindness when it compromises your position. Being good is easy. Staying calm when everything burns around you, that's power. When people expect you to break and you don't, their illusion of control over you collapses. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects their chaos back at them, and they can't handle what they see. Calmness terrifies the unstable. It makes the impulsive hesitate. They can't decode why you don't react, why you don't argue, why you don't crumble. That unpredictability becomes dominance. In chapter 18, Machiavelli wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves."
Look at him, just
You must be both.
so
Calm on the
passive, it's
surface like
pathetic.
water, sharp beneath like ice. Never reveal your internal process. Never show tension, doubt, or fear. The less they know about your emotional state, the more power you command. But to appear calm, you must first train your... Number 5, keep power in silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is control in its purest form. The more you talk, the more you reveal. Every unnecessary word becomes a window into your mind. And once people can read you, they can predict you. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago, a Renaissance diplomat navigating the brutal politics of divided Italy. He witnessed princes fall because they spoke too much, revealed too much, needed validation too desperately. In chapter 18 of The Prince, he wrote this truth: "Men judge by the eye rather than the hand, because everyone can see, but few can touch the reality beneath. Silence preserves that mystery. When you speak less, people start to imagine more.
They fill the void with their own fears, their own doubts, their own assumptions. That uncertainty becomes your advantage. The quiet one is never ignored. He's studied, analyzed, whispered about. The world underestimates those who speak little until they act. And by the time they do, it's already too late to stop them. Words are cheap. Everyone uses them to beg for understanding. But power doesn't explain itself.
When you justify your choices, you give others authority to judge them. When you argue, you admit that someone else's opinion matters. Silence destroys that illusion. It sends one clear message: you don't owe anyone understanding. Machiavelli once wrote, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." He meant that even restraint carries risk. Silence invites misunderstanding, but it also commands fear. People don't fear what they can predict. They fear what they cannot interpret. The individual who listens more than they speak, now, silence becomes your sharpest weapon. Most people fill every void with words, explanations, justifications, nervous chatter. Each syllable leaks insecurity. Machiavelli wrote in chapter 18 of The Prince that perception rules reality. The one who speaks less but observes more becomes the most dangerous presence in any room, because everyone wonders what you're thinking, what you're planning. When you stay silent, you force others to expose themselves. They reveal their fears, their strategies, their weaknesses. You learn everything while protecting your position. Silence turns every conversation into a mirror that reflects their truth, never yours. Research from Stanford on emotion regulation shows this surgical precision. Reappraisal, observing without reacting, builds psychological resilience. Suppression, the anxious need to explain yourself, drains it. In negotiations or confrontations, silence bends the battlefield. It makes the impatient reveal too much. It makes the arrogant lose control. The silent observer sees what the loud forget to notice. Micro-expressions, tone shifts, inconsistencies. This isn't about emotional withdrawal. It's about strategic positioning. When you do speak, your words cut through like surgical instruments because they're used with precision, not habit. Power is never loud. It's measured, deliberate, and patient. Keep your plans hidden, your feelings unreadable, your words minimal. When people can't decode you, they can't defeat you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks power. Now number 6, master the art of absence. Because presence loses value when it becomes constant. Scarcity is the essence of influence. A leader who appears too often becomes ordinary, but one who appears rarely becomes a myth. This wasn't just philosophy. It was survival strategy in Renaissance Italy, where Machiavelli watched rulers rise and fall based on how they managed visibility. Absence isn't withdrawal, it's calculated control. When you create distance, you breed 3 things: curiosity, authority, and longing. When people can't always reach you, they start imagining your worth. They replay your words. They analyze your silence. They anticipate your return. That anticipation is power. Timing matters more than frequency. Appear too much, and your presence loses its weight. Appear selectively, and every entrance becomes an event. The weak crave constant attention because they fear being forgotten. The strong withdraw deliberately to make their presence heavier. Machiavelli understood this in The Prince when he wrote that men are driven by love or by fear. The strategic mind knows absence creates both. When you disappear, people either miss you or fear losing your favor. Both emotions give you control. Continuous exposure dulls mystery. When people know everything about you, they stop respecting you. But when you become slightly out of reach,
they begin to imagine more than they know. That imagination strengthens your image far more than visibility ever could. Absence also protects your mind from noise. Constant interaction drains focus and exposes your patterns. Solitude isn't comfort, it's recalibration. When you remove yourself from the crowd, you regain perspective. You see what others are too distracted to notice. The crowd moves by emotion. The detached mind moves by clarity. To master absence,
Learn to retreat without explanation. Don't announce your silence. Don't justify your distance. Simply vanish when necessary, and return only when your presence serves a purpose. Those who notice your absence reveal who values you. Number 7. Rule your mind. Rule everything. Every form of power begins within. If you cannot command your thoughts, no strategy or influence will ever last. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance political philosopher who wrote The Prince in 1513 during Italy's most violent era, understood this completely. He saw that the greatest victories are won in silence, inside the walls of your own mind. The world belongs to those who direct their focus, while others drown in distraction. To rule your mind is to master every battlefield, because every external challenge starts as an internal reaction. The strongest person is not the one who controls others, it's the one who controls himself when everything tries to shake him. When you own your inner world, nothing external can truly touch you. Most people lose the fight long before it begins. They let anxiety dictate direction. They let emotion dictate decisions. Their thoughts move like leaves in the wind, driven by circumstance, guided by fear. Machiavelli saw this weakness clearly. He once observed that the environment reflects the mind. If your surroundings are chaotic, it's because your mind allows chaos. If your world is filled with noise, it's because your thoughts are unguarded. Control begins with awareness. Modern psychology calls this emotion regulation, the ability to observe your thoughts without being consumed by them. Observe your reactions without judgment. Discipline them like soldiers who must obey command. Your mind is both your greatest weapon and your most dangerous enemy. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I rule my mind, I rule my world. Your mind is either your servant or your master. If you fail to govern it, it will betray you. Every doubt rises. Every fear rules. Every insecurity dictates your next move. But once you learn to detach from impulsive thinking, your mind becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. Machiavelli understood this in 16th century Florence. Surrounded by betrayal and collapsing alliances, he wrote that strength is not born from aggression, it's born from composure. The disciplined thinker moves slower, but every move cuts deeper. He doesn't allow the past to haunt him or the future to overwhelm him. He lives in deliberate control of the present moment. That level of awareness separates the conquerors from the conquered. Mental mastery requires constant training. You must replace fear with logic, emotion with intention, noise with silence. Every time your mind wanders toward weakness, pull it back through self-command. Every moment you resist impulse, you grow stronger. Over time, your thoughts start serving you instead of sabotaging you. The world cannot influence someone who is internally aligned. When insults arrive, they lose power. When betrayal strikes, it finds no entry point. When failure knocks, your mind refuses to give it meaning. Machiavelli believed reason must always rule over desire. Desire blinds judgment. Reason directs it. The one who remains detached while still decisive becomes untouchable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My mind obeys only me. But here's what most people misunderstand about being mentally untouchable. It doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means something far more dangerous. Control begins within. That's not poetry. That's the foundation. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this in Renaissance Italy.
a diplomat watching princes fall and empires crumble. He wrote The Prince not as moral guidance, but as a survival manual for a world without mercy. Power is earned through discipline, observation, and strategy, not through luck, not through hope. These lessons build a fortress.
Detachment protects you from manipulation. Silence amplifies your presence. Absence increases your value. Calmness becomes intimidation without effort. Strategy shields you from betrayal. Perception shapes the reality others believe. Together, they create mental armor that cannot be breached. But understand this, these are not tactics for dominating others. They are protocols for ruling yourself first. When emotional pain runs deeper than strategy can reach, when isolation becomes dissociation, when control becomes paralysis, that's when you need more than philosophy. The untouchable mind doesn't react. It directs. It designs. It decides. If these lessons resonated, take action now. Hit the like button. Share this with someone still trapped in reaction mode. Subscribe, because mastering your mind is not one video. It's a practice. Silence, strategy, self-control. That is the path. Leave your affirmation in the comments. Let it anchor in your system. Because the moment you own your mind, you own everything. Which of these 7 lessons will you apply first in the next 24 hours? This is Inner Compass. Stay sharp.